right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Sweat Equity Podcast. I have some special guests with me here. Joshua is going to be our head chef at Seared, and then we have Cody. He is our area manager and is going to oversee the opening of Seared as the GM until we locate another one. And so, I don't know, are you going to be the full GM? Have we decided? I think your area.
I believe we had discussed that once we get, 3-6 months rolling off the ground, get good systems in place, turn it over to someone that continue those processes.
We'll call him the interim GM. Well, we just want to do something a little different, and we've talked a lot about Seared on our podcast lately and what we've done to get it up and going, and some of the trials and tribulations and the ups and downs, and the cars and the holdups and the whole shebang.
The cars.
The cars and the whole shebang, and so I thought it would be cool to bring you guys on and kind of introduce y'allself and talk a little bit about what you guys are going to do and a little bit of y'all's background. So we'll start with Cody. Cody's been with us we've been with us about 6 months now. May? Is it longer than that?
No, we're coming up on 9, 10.
Wow.
Back in last flies, June, man. Last May. Got a math?
Yeah, time flies.
Time goes by when you're going.
Cody currently overseeing both Mad Hatters, the Rabbit Hole, and a lot of what's going on at Seared. We were able to pick up Joshua a few months back. He is now put in his 2 weeks with the Archball and is going to come on full time with us as the head chef. And I hope that you're excited to get it in the kitchen and actually start working. We've got all of our equipment in there. They're sealing the floors today. They're going to do a deep clean by the end of the week. I had my eyes visually on it today, so they are in there working today. And so I know that's exciting for all of us. I hope that's exciting for you guys. I'll ask you first. What made you decide to leave where you were at and come on with us? What is it you were looking for? And then what's a little bit of your background? You can shout it out because you've got a really good reputation, resume. So there's no need in
I do try.
That back.
A little bit about me. I love simple cooking. I love clean cooking. I started my background, kind of fell in love with cooking, kind of the farm and table aspect in North Carolina.
Oh, cool.
I felt like people were just doing too much, and I kind of fell in love with the nostalgic idea of cooking, where food kind of reminds you where you come from and what you're about. And I learned that just like cooking simple, where people understand what you're doing, it makes them appreciate that love more, and you're able to show that love more on the plate. Yeah. I started Heirloom with Kevin Martinez of Tokyo Cafe. It was a simple garden to table, clean aspect, right there in the beautiful Archulans Garden Center off of Bowie. And the aspect of just taking what you can get, whether it was from the garden, and creating something beautiful from just simple ingredients. It's what I fell in love with. And I kind of bounced around after Heirloom, and then y'all started telling me about this concept, and I was like, all right, somebody understands where that love, that passion, and another opportunity to work with a good food group who supports you and also believes that, it has to be love, it has to be passion that carries you. Steak, and you can't get any them cleaner in Texas than good old steak. But the thing is everybody's done steak in Texas. So
So sorry to cut you off. What attracted you to our concept that we're doing? Because there is not another one like it in Fort Worth.
Not one, and that's the reason. That's cool. The reason. Like I said, there's 1,000 steakhouses here in Texas. What's going to be different? I love the look. I love the French fries. Going back to the classic butter and steak, and just keeping it really clean and simple. And everybody does too much. And I think that this concept is really going to bring people to the table, literally.
What about you, Cody? Well, actually, you know what? It kind of made me think of a question that I want to ask both of you guys really quick.
Sure.
And then I want you to kind of give your accolades and when you came on and why you left, because you were in a very corporate job, moving your way up quickly, and chose to kind of go against the grain and go out on a limb and come on with us, because essentially, I don't want to say your future was set with them, but if you wanted it to, it could have been, but you still chose to come over with us, and because obviously you believed in what we're doing. But one question that I don't want to let slip my mind that I want to ask you guys before we move on is, knowing our concept and everything that we're doing, what do you think it is that's going to keep us from falling by the wayside? And, you know, I was driving by the other day, and I was driving down White Settlement Road, and I saw the clay pigeon down at the end of the street, and I was on the phone with my girlfriend, and I said, man, I really want us to be a clay pigeon. And what I mean by that is they've been there for so long. They're almost a staple down there at the end of the street. They only open for the weekends and night shifts, and they continue to do a really good business. Whereas we see so many different restaurants right now, which we've gotten some of our equipment from, that open up and they just do not survive. No matter how good their food is, no matter how good their service is, they just don't survive for one reason or another. Maybe it's location. But my question is, what do you think is going to be the key to our longevity? That way, when we're sitting here 10 years down the road and you guys are being interviewed by a magazine, you know, hey, you know, y'all been here for 10 years. What do you think what is the key to that success? What's the key to that longevity?
I mean, for me personally, and this kind of ties into the, you know, why I wanted to come over and leave my previous employment is, you know, obviously we're in a time now where everyone needs a job. You need to make money, you need to pay the bills, raise your family, things like that. But if you have the opportunity to find something you're passionate about, or find people you're passionate about working with, and that's what I really found with you guys is, you know, I came from a company that was really about community and about culture and had like a vision in place. And I just wanted to jump at the chance that I could get on the ground floor of that culture and community. And so, you know, I've known you guys for years, and, you know, it's been fun to see you from the more guest side of things.
Yeah.
But also see how you guys have ran business and how you treat people. And so that's why I would say, you know, obviously, you know, who knows the future, but that's what's going to make us the most successful, is the fact that we've got that community aspect. We take care of the people that come in the door. Everyone that walks in is going to think this is, you know, family friendly. This is why I feel like I'm at home here. I can come have a great steak and get some good food. I can come in and have good conversations with people. And I mean, the consistency, whether it's consistency of Josh's menu to consistency of our staff coming in, being, you know, very hospitality and very personable, like friendly towards everyone, to when people want to come in there and be the place they want to go hang out. If they have the choice, like, you know, Josh said, there's many places here in Fort Worth. How do we choose? You know, you could have people that never been in there that just look at Google and say, oh, this is 4.7 stars, or vice versa. But, you know, where do we get the, you know, word of mouth? Oh, if you're going to Fort Worth, got to go check out Seared. And that's building it within us with the culture and our people. And that's just compounding on the same culture you guys have built through Mad Hatter and Rabbit Hole all these years now.
Love it.
I got a couple answers to that question, Chris. I got one of them is as obviously as be consistent as possible, but also is having the like-minded people. It's a privilege to have a team like you guys, and I've never seen a team where y'all are so well knit and so well in line with each other. It's kind of hard. A lot of people leave jobs because of people, not because of the place.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, evolving with our food trends, keeping relevant, keeping consistent, and also keeping creative. And I think that's what's going to keep us going for years to come.
I love that. And it's crazy that both of you guys say consistent, because I'm very, very big on consistency. I mean, even now you've heard me preach about it with happy hour bartenders. I'm dead set on don't have a happy hour bartender, a new one every day. Consistent across the board, Monday through Friday. That's who you're going to get. If they're doing a good job, they're going to run a really successful happy hour. And last night I was actually at dinner, and I'm not going to name the place because probably not fair to them, because every time I've had really good experiences. But we were out to dinner last night. I was out to dinner with my girlfriend and her mom and dad. And that was a topic of conversation. They were talking about, man, this is, you know, it was really good this time, but we came back a second time and it just really wasn't that good anymore. You know, and it kind of got brought up about different restaurants where you've went one time and you're like, man, this was really great. And then you bring all your friends and then you don't get that same maybe atmosphere. Maybe it's not even just the consistency of the food. Maybe it's also the consistency of the service and the atmosphere as well. But that was a topic of conversation that we had last night, talking about how important the consistency is across the board to be able to get people to come back. and we were listening to a deal. I think you were in there, Cody, the other day, and some people kind of make fun of me for this sometimes, but John Taffer with Bar Rescue, that we've all seen the show Bar Rescue. Yes, the theatrics are a little over the top and stuff like that, but really what he does is it is a science. I truly believe that it's a science. You guys are both number guys. It is a science to get people back into your restaurant and get people back in your bar, how to make them interact and things like that. And it was a very interesting fact that he brought up. And he said, if you go into a restaurant and you have absolutely stellar, perfect service, perfect food, perfect everything, you still have only a 42% chance of getting that customer to come back. And then if you get them back a second time, it's still under 50% that you get them back for a third time. And it's not till your fourth visit do you get them up to 72% to come back to a fifth time, which blew my mind because I'm a creature of habit.
Sure.
So like, for instance, when my girlfriend and I find a good place that we love to eat, we're there all the time. We'll go every other weekend. We'll spend money. We'll enjoy the food as long as it's consistent, like I said. But once you get that one bad taste in your mouth, you're kind of like, ugh.
Every time.
I don't know. So I'm glad that both of you guys brought that up because consistency is definitely key here. Another thing I want to touch on is just the style of concept that we are doing. Do y'all see this ever having an opportunity to be something more than one location? Or do y'all think the small quaintness, is that a
Quaintness?
Is that even a word?
Quaintitude?
Is that what it would be?
No.
I'm trying to say quaint. Maybe it's just it. The small quaint atmosphere that we have in there.
Yeah.
That's going to be a really family. We're right in the middle of three very wealthy neighborhoods, and that I think is going to drive a lot of our business. But do we see this being another location that we open in South Fort Worth and Dallas and Houston? What do y'all think about the concept? And is it built for more than just one location?
I think it's absolutely built for multiple locations. As long as we keep it simple and clean and consistent, which is the number one word right there. It's too easy. I think it's really easy for people to fall in love with the concept and feel welcome and love that atmosphere. And I think it's great that people can come in in flip-flops and not feel obligated to have all that pressure on them. So I think that's also a big selling point for multiple locations as well.
Yeah. And again, I'm just going off my past experience. It's the culture of the company and the vision you have is how much you want to extend it. And we've seen if we've opened a location out in Richardson, you've done this expansion. It's not like we sell all of a sudden better food. You're still opening a bottle of Michelob. You're still pouring a draft beer. It's not like it's exceptional. Oh my gosh, we have some groundbreaking, innovative new way of serving alcohol. But it comes with the culture, the people, and that's the systems we put out there. And so that's what I think is definitely expandable. Obviously, it'd be one that it'd be tough to open one of these out in Washington, D.C. or something right now, or go up to Canada, because you don't want it too far from home. But at the same time, there's several we could open. This is definitely a expandable, and you could open a couple of these up.
Yeah.
Because we have that same backing, and because like Joshua said, it's not simple, but you want it kind of streamlined to where the consistency is there, and it's not, oh well, this location hypothetically in South Arlington sells it different than the one in North Arlington versus, and that consistency is the same thing. So when we do that spread out, it's got to be the same no matter what your experience is here. It's the same over here, and that's the consistency you look for.
That's correct.
Yeah. Cody's a big numbers guy, if y'all haven't picked up on that yet. A little bit about your background. We got you from Torchy's.
Yep.
You had spent the better part of a decade with them, hadn't you? Am I right on that?
Yep.
Yeah. A lot of things you reference back to Torchy's and the culture that they built and the way they run that company, and I can relate to that because a lot of things that I reference back to, we just reference what we know. Sure. And mine was, as far as the restaurant goes, was a Razoo's culture. It seems to have slipped here over the last few years because it did sell. And then I go back to my tenure at Woody's and how I learned and things like that, and it was a process. But tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and where you came from as far as that goes.
For sure. I spent the better part of almost 9 years with Torchy's. And it's actually funny how I even started there, because I was not, game planning to start there. I actually had a house down in St. Thomas. I had my bartending and scuba divers, like master training license. I was going to go basically be cocktail and be a bartender and dive trainer, and that was going to be my life.
I'm learning something new about you.
Oh,
right
yeah.
now.
And
Very
then
cool.
I guess that would have been
It's kind of incredible, Lane.
the fall of 2016, I think, was when Harvey came through. Harvey Ike, I can't remember the quite name, destroyed the entire region. Obviously, that killed tourism for a couple of years. I was on the phone the next day with one of my managers, and I said, hey, let me get into training and let's start doing manager stuff, because I need something more consistent. I don't think I'm going to have a job down there. So,
what did you start at at Torchy's?
when I first started, I was bartending, expoing. I had manager experience from previous locations down in Lake San, when I was in San Marcos in college. But no, just walked in, needed just an hourly paycheck, and just kind of wanted to get to work. And again, this is just something I try to strive when I interview people, or we try to get people hired. Is this is just raised, and this is from my father. If I'm going to be on the clock, I don't like sitting still. So I want to get. If I'm working 40 hours, I'm going to bust my ass 40 hours.
Yeah.
And so I think that kind of work ethic led them to pretty quickly saying, "Hey, let's try to promote you."
Yeah.
And I kind of turned them down, because I didn't see a career at Torchy's at that point. I'm just trying to make a paycheck until I move to the islands.
Yeah.
And so obviously, hurricane happens, and I go, you know what? Let's go do it. And I was in manager training 2 days later.
Yeah.
And was able to go from bar manager to front of house manager to marketing manager, kitchen manager, field marketing manager, field kitchen manager, and help out locations, new store openings all around DFW.
Well, yeah, I mean, I will say this about you, and, I've told you, how much we appreciate you in the past, and, even in the present, and, your work ethic is very apparent. If anybody gets to know Cody very well, they know his work ethic is always striving to be better than anybody around him. Doesn't matter who it is or what he's doing, he's always striving to, I don't want to say outwork people, but it's hard to outwork.
You could say that.
Cody.
You can say that.
I will say that. It is hard to outwork him. What about you, Josh? Did you ever wash dishes? Did you ever... Did you ever bust tables or expo?
No,
or
everybody
like
wants
that?
origin story from the chef. Your grandma made all these delicious recipes.
Yeah.
I graduated high school. I went straight into the military. I served 3 years and 16 weeks in the Army, and because I was a combat, I really didn't have anything to go back to as a civilian. I remember my first job at Grandy's right there on 35 in Johnson County.
Wow.
While I was in high school. So I was like, all right, well, I do know cooking, so let's go back to cooking. And got an opportunity to work for Buffalo Wild Wings and help open the first 2-story Buffalo Wild Wings in Euless, Texas.
Okay.
And that's right when I figured out I did not want to be in corporate restaurants ever. Because probably the numbers, and I was ignorant, of course, and it took an opportunity to move to North Carolina with my beautiful wife, and got to learn the aspect of farm to table cooking and learn where our food comes from, and realize that that there's a lot more to it than just things coming from bags and boxes, and usually we just get our food from the back of a Cisco truck. So to see where the farms come from, to see who's raising the cattle, I fell in love with that aspect, and I never looked back. I started just. After 2 years, I became a sous chef and kind of made my rank up through all the restaurants in North Carolina where I was, and learned all my accolades. And then, say about 8 years ago, I came back to Fort Worth to try to find that passion, and I did.
Love it.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I think, especially this day and age, there's two really, I don't want to say good and evil, but you have like you said, the box food, the fast food, just the saturated fat foods, the food that really isn't even food, these days. And then you have farm to table has become a very, I don't want to call it a trend, but it's
very much a trend.
We'll call it a trend.
It's definitely a trend.
A big trend that I hope goes back to our roots when we were kids, and it wasn't all this fast food. You know, we were talking the other day about health issues, and we were talking about allergies and stuff. I said I never heard of a peanut allergy in the 90s.
I didn't
you know
either.
what I mean? You
I didn't
have
either. No.
gluten-free people.
That's right.
But I also think, you know, I was watching this thing on, it was a reel, and it was all the McDonald's in the world or in the country get their potatoes from one single potato farm. And they said that the guys, it shows a video of them walking with this pesticide, their biggest, the little black pieces that you'll find in potatoes, there's only one way to cure that and stop those from happening. It's a pesticide. And they have to spray these, and then they have this huge warehouse where it's a 20-foot pile of potatoes, and they have to sit there and what they called cure essentially for I think 2 or 3 weeks before people were able to even get back in there without masks on and things like that, and for them to be able to be sold. And it just speaks to the pesticides and things like that. I know that's a whole nother rabbit hole I don't necessarily want to get into. But my point is going from farm to table versus going from things that are, you know, frozen in a box, and, you know, you don't really even know if you're getting, you know, these days Kraft singles isn't even cheese anymore. I think it's only 5% cheese in a Kraft single, you know, which is crazy. Whereas we're using, you know, Heartland beef where it's, you know, 42% or 47 to 42% Wagyu beef or Wagyu. And, you know, we're really trying to strive for that freshness, farm to table feeling. That way it is a healthier option for people, even though it, you know, still may be French fries and a steak. And so I think that is one thing that I hope attracts people, that we're not a bunch of frozen food. Even our location in Richardson, we don't use a bunch of frozen products or anything like that. You know, it's really, we try to keep everything really fresh, use fresh, you know, vegetables and things like that for the burgers, pizzas and all of that stuff. But it is really wild to me how, as a society, we have really just continued to embrace all of the bad food that is around us. And I guess that's why they call it fast food and convenient.
It's convenient,
food.
yeah. It's absolutely convenient.
And it kind of speaks to what we talked about, you know, yesterday in the gym. It's all about, you know, people are trading that quality utility for time utility. And so, you know, in this day and age when, you know, you can have anything on your phone in a snap of a finger, or you want something, you know, you want immediate reaction, and people want that immediate gratification. And you know what? I did work a long shift. I deserve to get some French fries, and oh, you know what? I need some fast food, and I don't have time to go home and cook for an hour. And you know, that time utility of that fast. Well, at the same point, you have obviously restaurants that it's time utility for them. I'd rather, you know, if I can get the product out in 4 minutes and it costs me less labor, let's get that done.
Yeah.
And so that all combined together since what, 50s, 60s when McDonald's really first started.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's just one of those things that there's obviously, it makes sense money-wise, time utility, and obviously money for customers. Hey, it makes sense. I'll just go, you know, it's cheaper for me to, you know, go to McDonald's real quick and grab a burger.
Yeah.
Okay. But then, like you mentioned, man, I start feeling that after years and years and years. I know I've been working out with you recently, and I can't tell you how much, you know, and I might go home and not like I, you know, cook healthy for myself. I'll go make chicken fried steak with, you know, nacho cheese or something on it, but I'm making it from almost scratch ingredients, and I feel like that's almost better for me than if I had processed fruit, you know?
Absolutely.
And it's just one of those, you put that little bit of time in, and
I think that's what it is. I think that anything that we work hard for is going to be better for you.
Yeah.
And I literally, you can change your diet, have one guy go get fast food burger and fries every day versus have another guy make a bacon cheeseburger and fresh French fries every day. It's a totally different outcome. I promise
agree.
that. Yep. I think it has to do with the preservatives and everything they do to keep that on the shelf to make it last. I mean, yeah, we need food. We got to have that. Manufacturers need to produce these things. Well, they don't want to lose that money on the end from waste. So let's figure out how we can keep it on the shelf. It all makes sense. It all makes sense. But I also think those preservatives stay with you.
Oh, they have to. I mean, it's crazy to me. You know, I'm in my early 40s, and you used to be able to buy a gallon of milk. And I mean, if you didn't drink it in 5 or 6 days, it was usually, you know, it wasn't a 3-week shelf life like it is now. You buy a gallon of milk on April 1st, it's good till damn near the end of the month. Same thing with bread, whereas back in the day, you bought bread, if you didn't eat it in a week, it was molded.
That's correct.
But now you can leave it there, And I know this sounds gross, but I actually left a loaf of bread at my house. I didn't finish eating it. I left it to sit there to see how long it was going to take to actually produce a mold on it. And I threw it away before it even put mold on it.
Yep.
Because it sat there for so long. I kept it in the bag, wrapped up, sealed, and it took weeks. And I was like, I'm just going to experiment over, you know. But again, I think that a lot of times with those preservatives and things like that, we're just shoving poison in our mouth.
I
But
agree.
again, that's a whole nother rabbit hole. So you guys have been doing a lot of...
That's number 2. He said rabbit hole number 2, guys. Y'all count.
Trying to
y'all count.
get the name brand.
Trying to
Hey,
plug
the
plug
brand.
there. Hey guys.
You guys have been doing a lot of interviews, a lot of hiring. How has that been going for you guys, and how are y'all picking out who it is y'all want to bring on staff to try to, to try to maintain the culture that we're trying to build? How's that been going?
Well, I'll let Joshua touch on the back of house, because obviously there's limitations to doing some interviews without having that kitchen where you can really see what hands-on experience they have.
As a chef, I usually do working interviews, so have somebody you could learn really anything you need to learn as far as their kitchen and placement, where they need to be in the kitchen, where they need to learn, where they need to touch up, all by working in the kitchen. So a lot of the kitchens and restaurants these days, they do what they call a stage, where you come in and you work for an hour, you work for 2 hours, you know, it might be a free meal on the shift or something, but it gives an opportunity for chefs to see how you move, what your capabilities, how you are under pressure, how is your communication with the rest of the team, all that. So it is a little kind of difficult to work when I'm sitting side by side just asking questions.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I'm looking for people who are not just driven by paychecks. I want people who are driven and passionate about the cooking, serving, because that's what it loves. It's a love for art for me. So I want to continue that whole aspect in my kitchen.
Yeah. And then obviously for the front of house, you know, from servers to the bartenders we've hired, and you know, basically everyone I'm looking for from the front is, you know, again, just, I hate to go back to it again, but it just ties into that culture. Could I see this person? You know, if I was just a patron, would I come back in here 3 times a week to go talk to this person? And so as I'm communicating, and again, you can have different accolades or different histories and things, different experience, but just in having a sit down conversation with someone, do I feel like you are looking at me in the eyes? Are you really staring off? Do you want to be there? Are you intent on hearing what the other person has to say, communicating back and forth? I think tying back into some of the fast food stuff, it's a lot of order takers.
Yeah.
And even at the bar level, there's some bars where it's just order takers. You don't get that real hospitality and that real sense that I want to be here serving you, not, oh, I'm here just to collect your tips.
Yeah.
And so everyone I've been interviewing with, you're really looking for that connection of, and like Josh said, you can obviously interview differently. I've hired people over the years. I was like, wow, I was blown away. And I couldn't, their next day, they're going to be my trainer, and you get on one shift with them, you're like, no time management, no organization, this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
And so, again, would like to sit down with all these people, and obviously you try to find some questions where you're not like trying to cut them down or you're trying to find some details to see how they'd handle certain situations. And obviously we're looking for people that are positive. You have those people that want to just immediately muckrake and talk about all these past experiences, and I'm like, well, it doesn't seem like you're in a positive mindset for the next opportunity.
Yeah.
Obviously everyone has positives and negatives they can take away from each experience, and so it's not like they need to come up here and sugarcoat or placate us that, oh, they're just the best, had the best opportunities, but now they're suddenly available, because that's not believable.
Yeah.
But just finding that nice line between just being open, honest conversation, because that's what I'd want for my guests whenever they come up, is that they know, hey, I got a quick question for you. You know what? Honestly, on top of my head, I can't quite remember. Let me check my chef and I'll make sure I get the answer for you. I'd rather have that than some lie that gets switched, or, oh, last time they told me this, that, or the other.
Yeah.
Honest, open communication is mainly what we're looking for.
If you don't know, you don't know, but being
That's for sure.
teachable is number one.
Oh man, that is so true. That is so true. I always tell people, I'm like, I can teach a monkey how to bartend, but you can't teach personality.
That's correct.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
You just can't. And that's where
I might use that one.
Yeah, go ahead, man. It's so true. You can teach a monkey how to do just about anything, but you can't teach them personality. You just can't teach that. It either comes natural or it doesn't. And not to say people that have different personalities is a bad thing, but you do have to have a very specific personality to be in the service industry.
I agree.
I
agree.
Believe that. So I guess we start training on the 16th. Today is the 7th of April. We have our first orientation on the 16th. Am I correct on that?
Orientation should be on the 13th on Monday,
13th.
which
And then-
should be mostly paperwork, meet
Yeah.
and greet. I'd like the owners to be there to, again, spread that vision, have that culture
Oh,
so that
absolutely.
they know where that's coming from. And then hopefully start training after that. I know we're still awaiting maybe some construction, but hopefully get started after that so we can get this thing up and running by the end of the month.
So I'm going to ask you guys one last question to wrap this up, and I'll kind of give you my, I don't want to say necessarily spiel, but really what drew me to the concept. And my question to you guys, and y'all can think about it while I'm talking, is if somebody says to you guys, why should I come to y'all's restaurant? What's going to be different? Why should I come to your restaurant? You're obviously going to be excited telling people, hey, we just opened a new steakhouse. It's called Seared. It's off White Settlement Road. And they go, okay, well, why should I go there? Why shouldn't I go give my money to Wicked Butcher or one of the steakhouses downtown or H2 or something like that? And so I'll let you guys think about that. What really drew me into it was, I think I've spoke on camera about this, is the whole concept is essentially not the concept itself, but what brought it to us and our attention was a couple of vacations to New York. We basically went and did a, TikTok viral, whatever. I'm not on TikTok, but my ex was. And so she made a list of restaurants and dessert spots to go eat while we were in New York for the week. And a place up there called Skirt Steak was on the list. And we went in, and I'll be honest with you, I love steak. It's my favorite food. I could eat it every day. I've had better steak. But we got to keep in mind, they were using a hanger steak, so it's a little lower quality steak, but it was a simple, easy, quick thing for them to do. And when you walked in, essentially all they asked you is, how do you want your steak cooked? That's it. What dressing do you want on your salad? And they would bring you your salad, your bread. While your steak was cooking, you could order, family style sides. And what really caught my just attention of it was the simplicity of it and the atmosphere of it. Now, granted, we're going to have a little bit different atmosphere because I never want to rip people off of their ideas, but I was like, man,
Inspired.
we could do this so much better and offer a better steak and maybe one other option. And so that's kind of what got the wheels turning. And then almost a full year later, I go back, have dinner there again while I'm in New York, and I come back to the team and say, hey, guys, y'all got to check this out, man. This is a good idea. There's nothing like it in DFW right now. What are your thoughts on it? So of course, Juwan and I flew up there, had dinner. I think we ate there twice, flew the girls up there, and then literally 3 days later, the location came up for, actually no, they said yes, they wanted to do it. 2 days later, the location came up. We had an opportunity to get the lease on it, and I flew them up there to further sell them on the idea of what I wanted to replicate, but make our own. And so and I'll be honest, the last time I went, I didn't even finish the steak, and I love steak. Didn't even finish the steak because it was just wasn't the steak I like to eat, which is fine. But so my question is, one, for you, chef, how are you going to keep it fresh and new? I know we've talked about adding, seasonal options, maybe a fish, something like that here or there. How is that going to work, keeping the balance between keeping it simple, and then also keeping it fresh and new? And I'll tie that into, why should I come to your restaurant? Why should I come to your restaurant? What are you going to offer me on a service in that I'm not going to get somewhere else, and an experience? Because I do believe the whole thing that we're offering is an experience. That's what we're really selling, is
Absolutely.
an experience. So I'll let whichever one of you guys go first.
Well, I'm still waiting for my trip to New York for research and development. I will throw that out there. I think it goes right back to being consistent. having the best local products, having a solid team that are intertwined, always communicating, which we know we have 100%. It goes back to also following those food trends. I cook simple because I understand that people understand simple. If they know what's going on, there's no curtains up, there's no hiding anything, people fall in love with that. And like you said before, creatures of habit. So if we're consistent, those creatures of habit will be consistent with us. And I think that's the biggest thing is being consistent all the way through, following those food trends. Farm to Table has taught me to be a seasonal chef, follow those seasons, figuring out what's going to be good on the menu for the next season and start working on that thing.
I mean, I would say that mine goes back to something you guys had talked to me when you first pitched me on this idea was elevated cocktails, elevated food, and about the idea that you want, food coming out that you're not like fine dining, but man, let me take a picture of that. Like I want to Instagram that. I want to show somebody,
Yes.
oh my gosh, look at that cocktail. I want to take a picture of that. And Chef, you might know this one. One of my favorite movies is Burnt, and it's about a Michelin star chef that goes over, recreates, and one of the things he says in that is, consistency is key, but you almost want to make food that makes people stop eating, that go, wow, I'm going to stop what I'm doing and take a picture, or stop what I'm doing and tell somebody about it. And obviously we're not going to be, shooting for 3 Michelin stars, that kind of environment, but that thought process that we're going to put something in front of you guys, being the guest, that makes you want to stop and go, oh my gosh, you try this. Have you had this drink yet? Let me have a sample of this. I got to take a picture. I got to tell somebody. Yeah. And then when they have their friends ask them, be like, I could sit here and put it in 4,000 words, but hey, let's just go next week and let's go try that. That's like what I want inspired every time we send a plate out, every time we make a cocktail, that they comes out and we're like, wow, not only do I want to post this by taking it out to them, but when you see their face light up at the table, they're like, wow, it's the first time I've seen this. That looks like a great product. I can't wait. They taste it. I got to start telling everybody about it, and they come in every single time after that.
I love it. I said that was my last question. Now it's not, because it made me think of something when you brought up the movie reference. Have we all seen The Bear?
Yep.
Have you seen The Bear?
Kind of.
Chef, you have to see The Bear.
No.
So, and I'll tell you why.
I've seen the first season.
Okay, so you did.
Yes.
Okay. So when I think of The Bear and I think of the kitchen that was run and the standard that was held back there, I'll be honest with you, I have no problem with it. I don't see why things cannot be as close to perfection as possible when it comes to something as delicate as people's food and where you're cooking it. And Cody will tell you this, I reference Chick-fil-A all the time, because they do almost every single aspect of the service industry almost 100%. They nail it. They don't compromise. They don't allow people to get away with things. It is, what you're getting every single time you go there. You're getting 2 pickles on your sandwich. They're going to tell you my pleasure whenever you tell them thank you. Every single thing that you're going to get no matter what Chick-fil-A you walk into, because it's a standard that they held in place and they do not bend and break on. And I will say even in our businesses, we are not as strict as a Chick-fil-A. And so we do bend and compromise on a couple of things like that. But when I think about The Bear and I think about that TV show, on a level of 1 to 10, how are you going to run your kitchen?
With love.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, what people really understand is if each dish is going out, they can see the love that we back there are putting on that. That is our passion. We're not just sending food out because it's to send food out. We care about what we're doing. And I think the biggest thing that you can get from The Bear is everybody they care. It's love. I make that funny little corny thing about love is ingredient, but the difference is grandma's cookies taste so much better. It's because she loves you and she loves making those cookies for you. So when I cook, I want people to see that love. And that's what I think people really love that's what's going to keep them coming back.
It's a great answer. I think it's a good one to end on.
Yep.
Thanks, guys, so much for joining us. I'm sure you guys will be back on again.
Oh, sure.
We cannot wait to get it open and see the reaction of the community and the neighborhoods around us. I'm so excited to share this with everybody. You know, I do realize that we're only going to get 1 to 2 opportunities to sell this to everybody. So I'm excited to work closely with you guys once we get the staff in and just kind of mold them and teach them to what we want and the environment and the community that we want in our culture, should I say, in our restaurant. And I can't wait for you guys to bring that to life. And I think you guys are perfect people to do so. So
Happy to be
excited
part
have
of this
you guys.
family.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right,
looking
guys,
forward
till
to it.
next time.
Bye,
Thank
guys.
you. Bye.